Welcome back, guys, to We Are Family number 8. That's crazy.
Number 9.
Is it number 9? Oh.
I think it's number 9.
I knew I messed it up. Okay. Anyway, in episode number 9, like Peyton said, I'm here with Peyton and Nate. The usual suspects for today's episode, and we got a lot to cover. We got 3 of the Pittsburgh sports that we're really passionate about, and why don't we just start right away? So we got Pitt to start out, the Backyard Brawl, crazy game, 10-point comeback. So I was in attendance, but you guys were able to kind of, because since you guys watched it on TV, you guys heard the commentaries. There were a lot of stuff that I probably didn't see. So what were your guys' takeaways from that game? And is there anything you guys would like to discuss? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, in terms of the commentary, Pitt's going to the playoff. I think that's what we learned from that. The one analyst said, Pitt has a chance now, 3-0.
Yeah, technical.
And what we also learned is that Pitt was playing the refs and West Virginia.
Oh,
wow.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
That made Neil Brown happy to hear it, too.
I heard from that. Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy game. I had to go somewhere, and I was able to watch the whole game, but I was with 5 minutes left, right? It was 4:55 or whatever. It's a 10-point game, and you're like, oh, gosh, we're not going to – the defense won't be able to get a stop. It's Jover. And I was like, let's just go now. Let's just get it over with. But I stayed. I was like, no, actually, I got to stay. Stay. And I'm very glad I did stay, and Pitt was able to – I mean, they had like a 1% chance at one point to win, ESPN Analytics or whatever. It was 2nd and 30 from the 40. Penalties. It was both sides. It was penalties. It wasn't just one side or the other. But 2nd and 30, and I think the only reception for Day Reynolds so far this year was the touchdown.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of him until he caught that.
He was a starter last year, but since we brought in transfers, he kind of fell in the depth chart behind Poppy Williams and Sincere Lee.
That was unbelievable when he caught that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really energized the crowd. But still, I'm thinking, 34-31.
Our defense can't stop a cold, right?
We're not going to get a stop. They could just run the ball like 3 times. C.J. Donaldson was getting whatever he wanted when he went north and south. But we were able to get a stop, and we were able to score, and then at the end, Garrett Green was just throwing the ball. I mean
it was they had no timeouts.
And that interception obviously wasn't on him. They were just trying to do whatever. But very big win, huge win. West Virginia fans, I don't know if you guys saw that after. They were living.
Oh yeah.
They were not. It was rough.
There was probably some couches being burned, but not for a good reason.
I was watching some of the live streams of like the post game for like some of the West Virginia fans, and they were not. They were very down on themselves and the team, and I mean 1-2 now. They lost to both. They had like a graphic before the game. They were like, "We own the state" or something like that, But they already lost. I don't know why they lost to Penn State already, and they had that graphic.
They got owned by the state.
And they lost to both teams. It'd be funny if like they played Duquesne again and Duquesne won or something.
Between both teams, they
lose to Duquesne, Robert Morris, St. Francis.
But they gave up 72 points combined to Pitt and Penn State. Is that right?
Yeah, their defense was really bad.
Yeah, not good. What do you have to say, Peyton?
Well, first of all, a couple observations. Jake Bell was sending us video from the game. Don't think I've ever seen this man happier in his entire life.
I mean, I didn't know them during the 2021 season. If you saw me then, you would see me happier for sure. But that was the happiest you've seen me.
Yeah.
Sure. Honestly.
And, I mean, what an environment to be at. I mean, it probably wasn't like 2 years ago because that was like the biggest crowd since...
It was bigger than last week for sure. 2 weeks ago.
Well, I'm talking about it was bigger than 2 years ago.
No, 2 years ago was
bigger. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I thought West Virginia was the better team going in. It was a game West Virginia needed to win. They needed to win for Neil Brown's sake. And first half was pretty even. I'd say it was like, okay, Pitt's hanging in there. And then the second half, it kind of showed West Virginia was the better team. I mean, they dominated the second half. Pitt's offense could get nothing going. And a big turning point that kept Pitt in that game, I think it was still 17-17, right? You get the... what happened? I'm trying to think of what happened. You get the block punt, but before that,
it was a big touchdown pass. And
they got a big touchdown pass, but there was something that happened before that. I'm trying to think. Shoot. Because
Well,
Pitt did something stupid, and
oh,
I
yeah.
can't remember.
Well, there was the fourth down. They were punting, but
the
Pitt-
fake punt.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even planned. Like the West
Yeah.
Virginia guy just saw it. Pitt was just
Yeah, because
dropping
that was
everyone.
such poor special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those teams, there were so many mistakes. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, these teams are so bad. But I mean, I thought West Virginia was the better team. They were the more experienced team. They dominated the second half. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
lie about that. And the turning point. One of the big turning points was they get the fake punt. Then the interception occurs, right? I'm sorry. Then the touchdown, the
Yeah.
51-yard touchdown. Guy was wide open. And then there's a holding penalty. It was ticky-tacky.
It was.
And then they ended up punting. And we blocked. Special teams actually
Right.
does good. We blocked the punt, get the touchdown. So that's a 14-point swing. And you could argue the refs kind of... I think Pitt... And that's why, like, I was so happy when Pitt won, obviously. But when Narduzzi said, oh, we beat the refs and West Virginia, like, a quarter of my joy, like, left me. Because that guy just does not have an ounce of humility. It's like, what are you talking? You got a 14-point swing. I'm not saying Pitt... I'm sure there were some calls like that helmet, face mask, whatever, but that was hard to pick up.
Yeah.
Like, for the most part, I thought West Virginia or Pitt got a lot of the calls. And so for him to say that, just take the win and be happy. Like, you obviously got beat for most of that second half. Just be happy that you pulled out with the win. That kind of is a Pitt fan that just made me kind of not as proud to be a Pitt fan with that interview. And then, of course, that was funny when the analyst said college football playoff.
Yeah, even like the best case scenario for Pitt, just looking at this team, they have to fix so much on defense for that to go right. And
I mean, the defense was horrible. I mean, we expected that. But go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, also, what was it? Oh yeah. So I mean, in the second half, I didn't think the offense was terrible. Like initially, they only had those two drives, and it was the one was killed by a penalty, and then the other was just a 3-and-out, which happened.
But West Virginia controlled the football.
They had the ball. Yeah. So that's why I say like the defense. Like I'm not gonna just kill the defense because they were on the field like most of the time, and part of that's because of themselves.
Weakness.
We know it is, but yeah, I mean, West Virginia was playing so much better in the third quarter. The momentum completely changed after some of those. At the end of the first half, some of those play calls on the fourth down, and that really, because if you just run up the middle, like I feel like you get it on the one, and then now you give West Virginia the ball on their side of the field, or on Pitt's side now. So and they end up getting 3 points at the end of the half there. So I think that was a big momentum swing. I think West Virginia carried that. I think they're pretty even teams anyway. I think West Virginia's better than 1 and 2 right now. Pitt's worse than
3-0. I think I thought there was a chance West Virginia had a chance to run away with that game, but Pitt showed that their offense could, sustain some drives early on in the game, and I mean Pitt proved something, but we still know that they're just not a very good team, and that's why I'm afraid with Narduzzi of how confident he seems to be now. You can't spread that to the team. Like, every game is going to be a grind. Even Youngstown State. Like, we're not good enough to take any game for granted.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, going back to the game, I thought it was over 34-24. They got the touchdown. West Virginia is the better team. 4.5 minutes, right? I mean, Holstein, I like Holstein, but I didn't think he would do what he did. I mean, that was incredible. But at the same time, on that 2nd and 30, that's when you knew things were going to change. Because the better decision would have been to maybe take a check down and get in field goal range. And when he threw that ball, I thought that was going to get intercepted.
Yeah.
I did. It was in double coverage.
But it was a perfect.
There was like 3 guys over there.
It was a perfectly placed football.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And I mean, what a throw! But I Holstein, his numbers look excellent right now, and he there's so much talent there. But there's going to be mistakes. Like he's 9-2 in touchdown interception ratio. He should probably have like 4 or 5 by now. So there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be some bad games ahead. But the kid has a lot of talent. I think I saw something. He has like the same numbers Kenny Pickett did in 2021 right now. That's not going to sustain. I can promise you that. But and Cade Bell, I mean, Cade Bell actually had some. He tried to do a little too much, which is why I think Pitt struggled there a little bit.
I agree. Yeah.
I forget, what did he do?
There was so on the 4th and 1. Instead of just a tush push or just a quick run, they did that little weird pass to Kanate Mumford.
That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. That was so bad.
It looked like they weren't. I thought they weren't going to snap it. It looked like they maybe weren't going to snap it, but then like they snapped it and they did that. Like I think they were going to do that play, But they're like, okay, maybe Narduzzi's like, maybe just.
Yeah, that
punt
was
it.
bad.
I thought that was like messed up, but then the one they like lateraled it back, and it almost got. It was almost like an interception, like the Servassier Dennis 2021 game against Clemson.
Yeah.
And that could have been a turnover there too. So they got a little bit too tricky. The offense, we were just doing just fine, just throwing it, and we were just.
Yeah, you could. He's Cade Bill is really good at play design.
Yeah.
But like if he tries to get too cute with it, like sometimes you just have to trust your play design on normal plays.
I mean,
Like,
we were punching him in the face a little bit in the first half, and then he got away from.
Oh yeah.
And then, but the other thing the one thing that concerns me about his offense, there was this one, I think it was late. It was in the second half, and we were struggling. He it's like third and short, second and short. Why are we always running out of shotgun? I've never seen Holstein go under center.
Well, not only that,
I feel like you have to have I like shotgun more, but I feel like you got to have some run plays under center. Like I don't get why we're always on
for me,
shotgun.
Desmond Reed, he's a good elusive back, but he's not big enough to be running up the middle every single play. He's a guy that needs to be outside. If we're gonna want to run up the middle on third and short, make it Daniel Carter.
He's a good player.
Yeah,
we have
he's a bigger back.
We always have backs.
I mean, obviously, that would be Rodney Hammond, but he's out. Yeah. But, I mean, Desmond Reed isn't a run-up-the-middle guy. He's a guy that's really good in outside space. I mean, one-on-one with a guy in open space. I mean, there's no way he's going to bring him down. It's just impossible. So.
And they do not like using Derek Davis at all.
Not.
They just don't even want to go to him.
Yep.
They they're like, oh, okay, we'll go to him in the end zone. It was great that he got the
Cole,
touchdown.
good for him, yeah.
It was,
what is he, a sophomore, freshman?
He is a redshirt junior, I think.
Yeah, because he was at LSU the one.
Nate Yarnell, he handed it off.
He was like the number one safety in the class, and he went to LSU.
He was definitely top 3. Yeah, he was almost a 5-star.
Yeah, and he became a running back, and I was really excited for him when he transferred here, because I was like, wow, former big time recruit. I know he's safety, moving positions, but still a running back. And all the talent and everything, but Narduzzi and the staff really hasn't. Now maybe that was just Signetti and his, but they haven't really gone to it all through 3 games.
Signetti, we were always under center.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the complete but I want to see a little bit of under center action if we can.
Yeah.
I mean, our O-line is a work in progress.
Right.
Well, I think that was it. Our left tackle or right tackle got hurt. I think he's okay.
Branson Taylor.
He's our left tackle. Yeah.
He had that penalty. I think the one.
But he got hurt. Is he okay? I don't know.
He came back and he was playing.
Okay.
I think at the offensive line, at times, like in the Cincinnati game, it didn't hold up. At times against West Virginia, it really, especially when the momentum was shifting to West Virginia, end of the first, start of the second half, they were kind of owning. Really the whole game they owned both lines of scrimmage. Pitt did not get much pressure at all. They were pressuring, but they were not getting to the quarterback at all. Garrett Green was able to get out of it.
Well, the Narduzzi defense is so aggressive. Right, and that's why we're going to give up a lot of points, because first of all we have a lack of talent, and Narduzzi doesn't make adjustments. But that occasional blitz Narduzzi brings, we saw it in the Cincinnati game, and we saw it on West Virginia's last drive before we took the lead. He brings that extra pressure, and it works out. Right. But it only works out on occasion.
It's
that's
weird,
the problem.
It feels like it works out on the biggest plays of
the
the
game.
game.
But it does work
like,
in both back-to-back games.
Yeah,
it did.
And also, with the defense, it's not even about talent, because I think at the defensive line, at the linebacker, they're more talented than they've been in terms of 4-star. We got a lot of 4-star. I mean, and even some of the 3-stars, like Kyle Lewis looks awesome.
Oh yeah.
Rasheed Biles, he didn't really play great against West Virginia, but the first 2 games he was awesome, getting sacks too. And Braylon Lovelace and Jordan Bass, I think, has a lot of potential.
The secondary is the main issue.
And, even McMillan is a really good safety. Javon McIntyre.
Yeah, but they use McMillan more as a linebacker anyway, so he's not too much in coverage.
Right.
So it's our outside corners, they're new to this system. Not new to this system, but they're new as starters. So, going from A.J. Woods and Marquise Williams that have been our starters since 2020 and Devonshire since 2021, it's just a whole new face. So, I mean, They'll learn within time, but it's going to be tough.
Let's be honest, I thought the corners did pretty okay against West Virginia. I know they had big plays and everything, but a lot of that was the defensive line getting no pressure. You're not going to win every one-on-one. Yeah. Sometimes it's going to happen.
But that's the problem. We're always dealing with one-on-one.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought Rashad Battle last week against Cincinnati was not
did
good.
Better.
And he did, I think the coaching staff was like, hey, you gotta fix this, and he did really well.
The size is there. He's
he's been hurt for a couple of years now, so good to see him on the field and contributing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that the West Virginia. Here's the interesting fact about Pitt. It's hard to believe this. I think it was, I could be wrong on the date, like since 1971, if they beat Youngstown State, which they should, but I'm not taking anything for granted with Pitt. It'll be the first time since 1971 that they finished the first part of non-conference play undefeated.
No, actually,
Because
the 1971 was the comeback. Like, it was the largest comeback. I don't think they've ever
or
started
not,
on
it was like maybe it was since the 80s. Then it was
I
some
don't
sort
know
of
if they've
thing.
ever-
It would be their first
Yeah.
4-0 start total since 2000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Because in 2021, right, we lost to
Western
Western Michigan. I was
right.
I was at some of the worst Pitt losses ever. I was at the Western Michigan loss, and I was at the Akron loss many years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
All right,
Mac.
I think that's a good place to end.
Well,
Talking about
I
the
just
episode.
want to talk about their
Go for it.
schedule just real quick because, assuming they get to 4-0, now like they could have a very mediocre conference schedule and they could be 8-4, right? I
if
mean,
they
could
go
go
500
If they're
after.
just 4-4, because you look at at North Carolina looks very winnable. At SMU now looks winnable.
Yeah.
I mean, at home against Syracuse, at home against Virginia, at home against Cal, those are winnable games. You're not going to win all of
I
them.
mean, I think there's going to be. I think Cal is a pretty good team.
Yeah,
this
but
year.
the last three,
Yeah.
home against Clemson and then at Louisville and
BC,
Boston
those will
College,
be tough.
Those
Oh,
are
yeah.
going to be tough games. So you'd like to see them if they rack up some of the wins early on before some of those tough games.
I think there's going to be some bumps in the road eventually.
Yeah,
we'll see
yeah.
what happens.
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Well, I know we were kind of talking. I mean, we did talk a little negative about Pitt at times, but obviously there's a lot of good things to say. Now, unfortunately, we have to, talk a little bit bad about the Pirates, even though, I love the Pirates, but it's been a rough go around. I know. Did you guys want me to start with this? I know you
Yes,
guys
because
said.
go ahead.
I vouched for a Pirates segment because this is a man who works almost every single Pirates game over the summer. This is one of the most passionate Pirates fans I know. So we want to hear Jake Bell's thoughts on the state of the Pirates. And I want to talk about in a perfect world, because we know the Pirates are just fundamentally flawed in a lot of ways. Like, what would have to happen for them to compete next year? To legitimately... No, not compete, because that's what they said this year.
Yeah.
Contend.
They competed.
We want to contend.
Yeah.
We
They
competed.
competed.
We competed. We want to contend.
Whoop-de-doo, we competed.
So, I think first off, he's a good guy. He really is. The players love him, but it's got to be the point where we got to look for another manager, and it's unfortunate. But look at it this way. I think I've said this before. I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but if you guys know the Cavaliers, they fired J.B. Bickerstaff despite being in a lot better situation than they were whenever he took over, and they still fired him. And the reason was because they wanted to use him as a head coach that was a good player coach that could help bring them out of the rebuild. And now they're in a better spot, and they need to hire someone that they know can win. And I think the Pirates need to do that. I mean, credit Shelton for having to deal with the necessary, but the rebuilding teams at the time, and now we're in a position where we need to have a good season. I mean, it's year 5 to year 6, and as much of a good guy as he is, I mean, we need a guy that has playoff experience. Who's that going to be? I don't know. I mean, a guy like Bruce Bochy would be perfect, but there's no way we'd be getting him.
Sign and trade.
Yeah, honestly. Bring Clint
I'd
Hurdle
love
back.
to bring Glenn Hurdle back.
That would be
I'd be
crazy.
all for it.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be the first step. As much as Ben Cherington has his faults, especially at the coaching staff hires, you gotta credit him with his drafts, and I mean some of the moves he made. He's able to bring in some random reliever, and they end up actually working out. It's kind of like what Huntington did, but now in the new age. And then obviously Joey Bart worked too. I'm not saying all his trades have been perfect, but I don't mind his decision making, other than some of the guys who got the deadline. But I don't mind his decision making as much as people hate on him for. But as for other things, I think it's just adding depth at pitching. I could see a scenario where a guy like Bailey Falter gets traded just because we have so many starting pitching for an offensive guy, kind of like how we did with Quinn Priester. I mean, Quinn Priester was logjam. We got Nick York, and he looks pretty solid so far. I mean, he's a pure hitter.
I saw highlights. I really like his
Yeah,
swing.
I do too.
Got his first hit Wednesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
He had 3 RBIs the other day, didn't he?
He has.
Billy Cook as well, also.
Yeah, Billy Cook.
Yeah, I watched him.
He had a home run already.
Yeah.
He's a really good utility bench guy. He's not an everyday starter.
Right.
I think Nick York and the Knicks could be battling
Oh, yeah.
out next year for the second base job.
Honestly,
And if you keep both, that's great. And Piguero, I mean, I guess we're keeping him in AAA the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like both of those guys for your second base, and they're both Yorks. They're both right-handed hitters too.
Yeah.
And we always want good right-handed hitters.
Yeah. And just one last thing, I think just obviously offense you gotta grab, but one thing in particular, at the first base spot, if you can't grab a good free agent, I mean, I don't know his splits. Like I'd have to do more research. But if Andy Rodriguez is a better right-handed hitter, or at least similar to how he is as a lefty, why not platoon him with Rowdy? I know that sounds crazy considering I don't like it, but there's going to be a chance where we're probably not going to get anyone else better. If we platoon them first and say Andy Rodriguez proves that he could be a really good hitter, make him the everyday first baseman. But I think you just have to add offensive depth any way you can. Again, if that's trading away minor league pitchers in the logjam that we have, I mean, that's what we might have to go with. And I think we have a lot of depth in the infield. Obviously, outfield's going to be a concern. But if we have Cruz, Reynolds, and, whoever else, we'll probably grab another free agent out in the outfield, depending on what we do with De La Cruz. But honestly, I think it's just adding depth. I mean, I think we have talent. It's just a 10-game losing streak that hurt us. But to me, you just got to hope certain guys develop, because we're not going to grab a guy like, Bobby Witt Jr. in free agency. That's just never going to happen. We just have to really focus on making sure guys like Henry Davis, Andrew Rodriguez gets back to form, and Joey Bart just continuing.
Joey Bart, I love Joey. Bart.
That he's going to be a big reason if we compete next year in the middle of our lineup. So I know that you want to say, oh, we need to spend more. I don't want to be unrealistic about that. We need to be smart about it, and I think development is key. That's just how I see it.
Well, the Pirates are horrible at spending money and getting free agents, and they're also horrible at developing.
They are, yeah.
So, it's just, at this point at the Pirates, I'm feeling a loss of hope, because I don't trust the general manager, and he's probably sticking around. And as you said about Shelton, he's a nice guy. Where does that get you? He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
What does he do? What does he bring to the table? I don't know. I mean, I think first you got to get rid of both of them. But let's just assume that they both stay. What do they have to increase the. I know you're saying that it's unrealistic, but I don't see them getting better without increasing the payroll to at least $100 million. And Nutting said he's going to increase the payroll. It's time for some action. It is. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, and about the catching and first base situation, that is something that's going to have to be figured out.
Yeah.
I think an Andy Rowdy, I can't think of the word. Platoon duo could be realistic if they're not going to spend money at first base.
Yeah.
But I would rather see them go out and spend, I don't know, $30 to $40 million on a first someone who can play first base or more. Because it's just been turnover at that position ever since Josh Bell left. Mm-hmm. And Rowdy's great, but with how he did in April and May, it's hard to trust him for a whole year.
Absolutely.
And with the thing with Endy, I see him as our future catcher. That's the thing. I see him as the full-time catcher. Henry Davis, he's been okay defensively. Can't trust him. And I don't even know if he's going to make the team next year, because he's been that bad offensively.
Yeah.
So I'm not even. They shouldn't even think about Henry. If they think, oh well, we're going to have Henry Davis. You can't just rely on that and expect to compete next year, contend. You have to go out. I think Joey Bart is your starting catcher.
I agree.
And then you get Endy at first base. You slowly get Endy back into things, and then maybe you do have that platoon with Endy and a Rowdy type, because you want to get Endy at bats. And then maybe you spend your big money on a right fielder. Yeah, I would say that's where they need to spend money on a big-time bat. At least one big-time bat. And actually make a splash move. And I would say probably right field. But if they think Brian De La Cruz is the solution, then they're just delusional. I mean, what did you say about his WAR?
Yeah, it's since he got acquired by the Pirates, so it's been a month and a half, a little over a month and a half. He has the worst WAR. It's like either negative 0.9 or negative 1.1 among all players traded. And IKF is at 0, so he hasn't, because he hasn't hit really. Let's be honest with IKF. This is what I was fearing because he's had his best season, prior to joining the Pirates ever in terms of offense. He usually hits around at best 260, but usually in the 240s, 250s.
Yeah.
And he's down to 260 something with overall. So with the Pirates, he's hitting 230 or 240.
He's going to be a utility guy for us. I
Right.
don't think he's an everyday starter for us next year. If he is,
I
don't know.
The thing is, they're paying him $7 million, $8 million.
Yeah.
I think they expect him to be the starting shortstop next year. And with his defense, I'm okay with that. But you have to invest in a big time bat and put them in right field.
Yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
either first base or right field this offseason. They need to invest somehow. And I agree. I mean,
And you have to hope Key Brian Hayes shows up.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah.
We're paying him. We're paying IKF $7 million. That's
I mean, honestly, if you could flip Hayes, it wouldn't even be an awful idea to move Gonzo the third, knowing that he's played there before and having York at second. I mean, that's a realistic opportunity.
I've just been waiting.
They won't though. They won't
Yeah.
do that. They have no balls to do that.
I've been waiting, and I really love what I saw from Hayes at the end of last year, and I've been waiting this year. He's going to turn it on at some point. He's going to, at least the doubles, getting doubles. Yeah. But he was not getting the ball in the air at all. No extra base hits, obviously. And now he's his back issue. I think a lot of it
he needs back surgery. Give this guy some surgery.
I
mean, now is the time.
It's ridiculous.
We're shutting him out for the rest of the
year.
year.
Yeah, he's not going to play. Right? They're still oh, he might play. No, he's not going to play.
One more week left.
He shouldn't play. Yeah. Okay, so I want to address the manager GM thing first. So, first off, for Shelton, back to what you guys were saying about what does he bring other than being a nice guy, locker room, or I guess clubhouse presence. There's no other manager with a record that he has, right? Play win percentage either 38% or 40%, and having this large of a sample size.
Yeah.
There's no other manager. There's nothing to look at. The Pirates have kept him longer than anyone with that winning percentage. Everyone else, they fire him within 3 years or something. It's year 5 now. And like we mentioned, they're going to finish probably with a worse record than last year.
Well, think about it. I mean, Hurdle wasn't his first manager he hired.
Right.
He hired, one or two other guys.
Yeah.
So, even Huntington didn't have the patience. Yeah. Yeah, but even Huntington didn't have the patience. So.
Yeah. And, I think I would fire both of them, but I'm not making the calls.
I blame Sherrington more than Shelton. I really do.
I agree.
I mean, look at these trade deadline acquisitions. They were last minute, fill out your homework type of acquisitions.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm more frustrated with the off season. I was just so underwhelmed, and it turns out the big Chapman. I mean, he's been all right. Is he worth $10 million? Probably for most teams, but for the Pirates, $10 million is a lot more.
Yeah.
So,
could have done a lot with that $10 million.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have to the payroll shouldn't be. It's not I know we're in a small market team, right? But $83 million, there's a lot to work with still. You could. I mean, I think 110, 115 is usually the range that the Cincinnati Reds operate, the Brewers right now are operating, and the Brewers have a smaller market than we do. And so do the Cincinnati Reds, and the Brewers the Brewers a much smaller market, and they're much better run. We talked about this before the show. Matt Arnold, the GM for the Brewers, the Pirates had a decision nutting and his staff before the 2020 season, who do they hire, as GM and manager, and they went with Sherrington over Matt Arnold, and it has turned out, in hindsight's 2020, but it's turned out
they had to go with the Ingtons, Huntington, Sherrington.
So, I would probably, but you have to, I'm saying, it's not even all in show. I'm just saying, you kind of have to fire both of them. You can't just fire, just with how poorly Schoen's done, it's so much more talented of a team, and we're still where we are. And obviously the 10-game lose, you're going to be.
If they were to fire one person, I would rather them fire Sherrington.
Yeah, I agree. And,
but that's not going to happen.
And what you said about in terms of offense, I think we do need either at first. I really like Andy at first overall, just playing the whole time.
He has experience in the infield. That's why I figured that would be the option.
And they're playing him at first now, and he just hit a home run in AAA a couple of days ago. He looks really good. I'm really high on his bat. I think he's going to be a really good hitter. And I was just thinking this now as we were mentioning kind of the log jam at catcher and everything. Bart as the main catcher.
He's earned it.
Right,
He's earned it.
Yeah.
Andy at first base. and we'll put Henry Davis back at right field.
People are like, honestly, if we could, improve his defense as a right fielder, that might make it easier for Henry Davis offensively. Like, O'Neal Cruz, I think, has been a better hitter as a center fielder than he has been as a shortstop.
I'm losing hope for him offensively.
I am losing it. But if he doesn't have, I feel like a lot of the reason why he struggles is because he focused solely on being a really good defensive catcher. And it's almost like you have to be one way or the other. I mean, Buster Posey's don't come around every single year. And Henry Davis wasn't good enough as a defensive catcher to begin with. We drafted him based off his bat and a slot value because that draft was not only didn't have a guaranteed number one guy, but there's a lot of depth later in the draft. And as we saw, Solometo and Chandler. So I think if you put him in right field and at least make him a decent right fielder, I mean, his arm strength's good, it might make him better offensively. I know that sounds weird, but I mean, whenever he was primarily a right fielder last year, I mean, he wasn't a good offensive player, but he was, a world beater compared to this.
I know Sherrington. I know Davis is your guy, and he's an easy guy to root for. You got to get the number one pick right, though. And I think you give it another year, half year. Maybe trade him in the offseason, but Sherrington has too much of an ego to admit his mistakes and move off guys.
Here's one thing I would be open to. You know how Torkelson struggled for the Tigers? 1-1 swap with number one overall picks. The Tigers try to fix their catcher need. We get a first base, and we get
Spencer Torkelson.
We get a first baseman.
Wow, that's a trade.
And then you have Endy. Now here's I want to end the Pirates segment with this. I've been hearing because Brian Reynolds' outfield metrics are not very good, right? Kind of actually worse in the league. But he doesn't do dumb stuff.
He's just not rangy.
He's just not very good. Yeah. He's just not. So I've been hearing, and I don't know.
Oh, I heard too, yeah.
Brian Reynolds moving to first base. So you solve your center field issue with Cruz. You solve your first base issue with Reynolds. And here's what you do. You have Endy and Brian platoon at first, and you have Brian play DH. Once Endy gets settled in, then you have Brian as your full-time DH. If Endy settles into first base and produces.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean,
but then you have to sign two solid, and I mean good, free agent outfield.
Well, also you have to think Nick York. He has a lot of experience in left field, not with the Pirates, but with the Red Sox AAA.
Okay,
that could be. I know we're talking Nick York a lot, but I feel like we got to find a position.
I like it. I think so. Yeah,
I like it. It's a lot of moving parts, right?
And he is a rookie. You got to be. You can't just count on a rookie.
I know. I saw that too. Yeah, he was taking first base reps before games and stuff recently, but I know he said he's not a good defender, but he makes the plays. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but I don't think he's an issue defensively. There hasn't been many times this year where I say, "Oh my gosh,
no.
Reynolds, why'd you do?"
I mean, I think they'd be fine keeping him in left field. But I'm saying that I think that we keep hearing about this. It's a possibility, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. Him being the full-time DH. And playing first base.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It's weird seeing Reynolds as a first baseman. He doesn't look like your prototypical first baseman, but I don't care. I'd rather have the best chance at offense and with anything and still have a really good defensive outfield because that's what won the Royals the World Series in 2015. Having guys that were speedy out there. We know Cruz has the speed. He just has to get better.
He looks like he's adjusting very well. Look at that play he made last night. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. And that Royals outfield wasn't even offensively. They weren't juggernauts at all. I mean, Gerard Dyson was playing a lot for them.
Alex Gordon was a Gold Glover every year. Lorenzo Cain and Gerard Dyson. I mean, they flew out there.
Gerard, Pirates legend.
Yeah, I mean, in the league, in a time period where everyone was hitting doubles, no one was hitting homers. Everyone was hitting doubles. They were able to stop a lot of doubles. That helps you win games.
Right.
I mean, again, they didn't hit home runs. I mean, the first time they made the World Series, they didn't even reach 100 homers as a team.
Yeah.
No one hit 20 homers on the team.
So I want to say here's the ideal offseason. You get rid of both guys, both Sherrington and Shelton, because I don't trust the owner. The thing is, I don't trust the owner to hire the right people, though, but I can't trust Sherrington or Shelton. And the owner, so that's a whole problem within itself. But as term as free agency, you either get two outfielders or an outfielder and a first, or just one outfielder, big-time outfielder. Maybe you get a big-time first baseman. And the other thing we didn't talk about, you have to get two solid setup men in the bullpen because Holderman and Bednar, their talent is there, but after what we saw this year, it's hard to trust them right now. Yeah. And they have to go and improve. And I know they have guys that have been injured, Majinski, Stratton, but they have to solidify that bullpen.
Well, plus Chapman's going to be gone. They're not going to re-sign
right.
They're probably not going to re-sign him.
So they need
I thought that was interesting what he said about Rowdy, because he now has a lifetime contract with the Pirates.
Oh, yeah.
Because
he's I'm shocked Michael A. Taylor doesn't either.
Yeah,
after
Michael.
He gave him
Well, I didn't know this worked, so they put him on waivers. But he was like still playing. I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. But and then he just like nobody wanted him, so he's just still with the team. I always thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be this is a pivotal off season.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're gonna keep both, and for them like an ideal off season right now with both of them still employed with the team, and I think you get rid of Andy Haynes. I think he might be a scapegoat.
Someone's got to get.
Yeah.
There's gonna at least be a. There's probably not gonna be real change. There's gonna be a scapegoat,
right.
whether that's Shelton or whether that's Haynes. I think Shelton deserves some blame, and Haynes deserves some blame. But I think those would be more scapegoat fires.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
sure.
especially like Haynes. I didn't like that from the start. He was not a good hitting coach with the Brewers, and he hasn't been good with the Pirates. But really, to be honest, though, like offense hasn't been the issue this team has. I mean, it's been like basically the same all year.
It's been the bullpen
slightly
that
below
let
average,
us down.
Yeah.
But the bullpen. So, but I think Holderman, like I just think he had like a bit of a rough patch. I think he's like overall alright, but Bednar I'm definitely more concerned with just because like without his
I'd sign a closer.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Craig Kimbrell's available.
Hey, maybe we'll have another bounce back candidate.
I didn't realize he was doing that bad. I saw he got DFA.
Yeah, he was like in like the ERA was like around 3.
Yeah.
And then I looked when he got DFA and it's like 440 or 450 or something. So he's like way up there now.
Yeah,
so.
time to retire, bud.
Yeah. Well, what a way to end with Craig Kimbrell with the Pirates segment. But now we'll go on with the Steelers. They have a pretty interesting matchup against the Chargers, a team that I think looks really good, like compared to how they've been in years prior. Jim Harbaugh is doing a really good job. How do you guys see the Steelers matching up with the Chargers? Like, what do you guys expect? If you guys want to talk about the Steelers in the previous games too, go ahead.
Yeah, we could talk about the previous game first, I guess, just to make a nice segue. But kind of how we all expected that game probably to go. I thought offense, first half was really nice, the offense. I know they didn't score a ton of points in the first half either, but I thought the offense in they got Darnell Washington the ball.
That was awesome.
He's just such a great blocker. You see him, and then, to get that touchdown for him. Who would have thought, like, nobody had that on the bingo card. The first receiving touchdown of the year would be to Darnell Washington. But I thought the first half and the defense was really good really throughout the game, but it's not hard against Bo Nix and that offense. But second half, penalties really did in every drive. We talked about this before, the one drive where that one throw where Fields hit Pickens, that was unbelievable. It was like really good coverage. The one spot it needed to be in, he delivered it right there, and that was going to be a walking touchdown. He had the momentum and everything, so that killed that one touchdown, and then Roger Jones had another penalty. They killed the other drive, and then Dan Moore had a penalty. They killed the next drive, I'm pretty sure. So it's but in 3rd and 10, like, this team's not going to be good in 3rd and long situations. So if that continues, like against the Chargers, if that continues, the Chargers defense has played really well so far. I know it's against. I was about to say Oakland. I said Oakland on my radio show yesterday. I always say the Oakland Raiders, but and well,
that's where all their fans are. So that's.
But they got really good players on defense, obviously, especially on edge with Mack and Bosa. So, but yeah, I thought the offense overall looks nice. It looks like it's kind of funny. It's like flown under a radar. I feel like I haven't been listening to local talk shows recently, but how Fields is just like the starter every week. We're just like nobody's really saying anything. Russell Wilson apparently still not healthy, and they're just gonna keep riding Fields right now. And he hasn't made a mistake yet, big mistake. Yeah. He's been close. There's been some throws he made, especially last week, that were problematic, and he's taken sacks. But I think last week was a good win. They should have scored more points, but I think overall it was a nice win against Bo Nix, who I was really high on. He just hasn't looked good so far, but. I don't know, Peyton, you want to talk about the Broncos game?
The thing is, it feels like we always say that. Yeah, the Steelers should have scored more points. I feel like every week for the last 4 years, we should have scored more points. And I think Arthur Smith is a much more competent offensive coordinator. I said this last week. There's not much. It's not that dynamic though. But Fields, if you could keep him from committing turnovers, he adds a dynamic aspect to it. Now, here's an interesting. I was reading Mark Kabul. He puts his articles on Twitter now.
Yeah.
And because I think part of it was because the Steelers' defense, but the Broncos weren't doing anything on offense. They weren't. So the Steelers could be extra conservative in the second half. But at the same time, the first 2 weeks with Fields, we've seen Tomlin and Smith kind of handcuff him. And that's because they don't want to see him turn the ball over. And the thing is, and I know people were like, well, we need to give him a chance. We need him we want him to do more. This is why we got him, to see his potential. But I understand where they're coming from, because we're trying to win games here. And Fields, the problem with Fields, he was a turnover machine. He doesn't see the field all that well. He fumbles. And I don't trust Justin Fields. I wasn't a big Justin Fields fan going in. But the Steelers have kind of limited him to where he makes some plays here and there, but it's nothing that's special. And he turns the ball over. He doesn't turn the ball over. But this is kind of a conspiracy theory. But I think it's a real possibility that the reason there are other reasons for it, as I just mentioned, but that they're keeping Fields under wraps and keeping things conservative is they don't want him to completely go off. And I know that's kind of crazy, but I think that overall they might trust Russ more, and they want to see, they feel more comfortable throwing the ball more with Russ than they do Fields. So they're just trying to get by with Fields right now. And I think because they said week 2 and 3, Fields is going to start. And I think if things kind of look conservative, and if they lose to the Chargers, right, I think they expect Russ to be healthy by next week, possibly, that the whole plan all along has been to go back to Russ. Because if you remember in the offseason, the only reason Russ came here was because, as I tapped the mic for no reason, was that Russ was going to be the starter, right? And I think Tomlin has a sense of loyalty to that. And now Fields goes 3-0, then they're in a pickle. And especially because they could have done more of the penalties, right? If he goes off, then I don't think Tomlin has a choice. But I think they're going to still keep things very conservative, especially this game, because it's the Chargers. It's going to be a muddy up, run the ball kind of game. And I think there's a possibility we could be seeing Russ. And I know people are starting to think that Fields is just running away with this. I don't necessarily think that, not because Fields has done a bad job, but because I feel like they don't really fully trust him, and they want Russ to be the starter. They want to give Russ his chance. And I think they feel a lot more comfortable throwing the ball for Russ, and I do too in general. And I think they also think that if Russ does bad, then if Fields shows he could play and then Russ does bad, then they can go back to Fields.
Yeah.
And that's why another reason why they're being conservative with him. So that's kind of a whole theory. I could be very wrong, but I'm not. I feel like there's something going on here with this situation.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like at the NFL level at least, and I really feel this is true. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Yep.
And while Wilson and Fields could be good quarterbacks for us, it's just I don't think it's going to take us over the hump. But I truly feel like, aside from the whole Pickett situation, if their starter's injured, they're not going to use that as an excuse to keep them on the bench whenever they're back healthy. I truly believe Arthur Smith's offense, with how he likes to run play actions, how he likes to run the ball, I think it's going to mold better with Russ. And I think they made their offensive game plan for Russ going into the season, because, again, like with the whole Pickett situation, he pretty much left because he was told, hey, Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. It went from, okay, you're going to have some competition, to Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. I mean, this is the guy that they wanted. This is a guy that has experience. Tomlin's not a guy that can develop quarterbacks. He's a defensive coach. He inherited Big Ben. He's not interested in a rookie quarterback. He wants to win now. It's kind of like, a big reason why Aaron Rodgers passed in the draft was because a lot of these head coaches didn't want to use a rookie quarterback because, they want to win games. They want to risk getting fired. And even though Tomlin has the longest leash of all time of any head coach you'll ever see, because the Steelers, they'd rather have 3 head coaches in their history than make the right decision at head coach.
Or win championships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I really think that Russell Wilson's going to be the star, unless, like you said, Fields just is amazing. But I think that unless he's able to put up 25, 30 points a game, I think Russell Wilson is gonna be the starter. So.
But if they start out 3-0, then they're in a pickle because Fields does, and that's what I said last week. Kind of the devil's advocate of what I just said is like what I said last week was Russ, you feel more comfortable throwing the ball with him, but if you can get Fields to be dynamic enough in the passing game, and you add his running aspect, which is a big part, then you might be better off with Fields if you limit the turnovers. But they seem to be limiting Fields so much where they're just too worried he's going to turn the ball over, which makes me think they're going to go back to Russ. And this isn't, what we're saying here, this isn't the status quo right now.
Yeah.
So we could be very wrong. Because people are saying, Russ, his Steelers career is over before it starts. I don't think that's the case, especially if they lose on Sunday. We'll talk about that game when we get to our picks. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else we want to add?
Yeah, not much disagreement at all. I agree with what everybody's saying here. When you were talking about Russell Wilson and the difference between like passing, maybe more comfortable. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Russell Wilson really is what he used to be.
No, he's not.
I mean, obviously not, but I don't think there's much of a difference in terms of now. Maybe Justin Fields turns it over more throwing, but
I think Russ sees the field better.
Yeah,
and is a little more of a pocket passer.
Yeah, I think he definitely does. But I think, and I would like to see more of this. Like Fields actually running. He hasn't ran like very much at all these first 2 games. I like. If he becomes a real difference maker running, I start him over Russ.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the dynamic.
But like you mentioned, and it is a really interesting situation because if they are 3-0, if they have a nice offensive performance against the Chargers, and Russ is healthy, they're gonna have to go back to Russ because they committed to him. They said you're gonna be the star when you come in. If the Steelers are one thing, they are committed. When they say they're loyal, when they say something, they mean it.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to go to him, and I don't think the offensive performance is going to drop off because that's assuming that it's been, way up here. It's really been okay. It's been all right. And like we mentioned earlier, hey, there's games like the past few years where we should have won or we should have scored more points. But the difference here is, the reason we didn't score more points is penalties. The reason before is just we had a bad offense. We just did bad.
Yeah.
This offense has much more potential, I feel like.
And Broderick Jones, it looks like Fatanu will start at right tackle.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about Broderick Jones. I don't want to. Were you?
No, that's all.
That's all you were saying.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say.
If Tomlin botches Broderick Jones, that's a first-round pick. That's another first-round pick down the drain.
That they traded up for, too. Remember Devin Bush?
Yes.
I mean, Devin Bush, at least you could say his injury destroyed his... But Broderick
I was
just
thinking
hasn't
more
been
just
good.
Kenny Pickett. I mean, that's, back-to-back years.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right?
Yep.
So, Fatanu looked really good. So, I think he's going to be fine. I just don't... I don't understand... People are saying, well, just give him a chance at left tackle because that's his natural position. But he was at right tackle last year, and he was fine. So I don't know what's going on with this guy, but it's very concerning. And they like Dan Moore.
Yeah.
They like him. I think his run blocking is a little better than his pass, but he's gotten better. He's not elite by any means, but they like Dan Moore. They just like him. So there's a chance Broderick ends up on the bench. I heard he's having a better week of practice, but they can't do a rotation at tackle. They got to stick to one guy. I think Broderick, he looked bad in the preseason. He had a horrible game last week. Stick with Fatanu. We can't have, especially like you said, third and long situations with Fields. Can't have that. Or Russ. You just can't have that. Especially our offensive line is developing.
Yeah.
So you got to stick with one guy for now. That's Fatanu. But they're really botching Broderick Jones right now. That is a serious issue.
Yeah, I tell people we could have had Landon Dickerson and Creed Humphrey over Najee and Muth. Maybe we'd have more of an established line now.
Creed Humphrey.
Creed Humphrey, he'd be our
Yeah.
center. He'd be the next.
But
Marcus
Zach
Pouncey
Frazier
for us.
looks
Frazier's been
excellent.
awesome.
He has been, yeah.
Spencer Anderson, when he's been in, has been really capable.
I don't see any issue with him. Yeah.
And
Samala should be back soon.
Yeah.
yeah, and this is like the biggest issue with Tomlin and this team is the offensive line. They've swung and missed on everybody. Kevin Dotson, remember him?
He's a stud now.
He was the worst player.
I think the worst one is Kendrick Green coming as a center, taking Marquise Pouncey's number.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
just
that was
completely
Big.
terrible.
I remember Big Ben. He said something on his podcast. This wasn't too long. He was like, "Yeah, there just wasn't much I could do with that
Yeah.
situation."
Yeah. I mean, we were just listening to all these guys that they swung and missed on. Like Dan Moore, really. I mean, he's been improved, but still, he had a big, the penalties. Remember last year, all those penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's been the big issue with this offense. They've just not been able. There's some teams, especially with defensive head coaches, where they cannot figure out the offensive line.
Yeah.
Buffalo doesn't. They really have a good. They never have a good offensive line, and Josh Allen's always running everywhere, and they never have a good run game. But through 2 games, they've looked better running as well. But yeah, I think that wraps up probably Steelers overall. I guess we'll move on to the NFL picks and everything probably.
All right.
I want to say
Or-
one quick thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Just the Steelers' defense. I know we played one immobile quarterback and a rookie quarterback, so it's we'll really see how we do this week. But there is literally no hole on this defense in theory right now, and based on how it's looked, it looks to be the case. I mean, Deshaun Elliott has looked great at safety. You have Porter and Jackson have been fine. Porter has been great against top tier guys, and then this Beanie Bishop from WVU is, I haven't seen any big plays from the slot yet. It's a work in progress, but then we know that D-line in the middle and the middle linebacking core is excellent. So it's just like this defense could be the number one defense. It has the number one defense in the league potential when it's healthy.
Oh, yeah.
It's the highest bid. It should be.
Yeah.
But and also, what was I going to say? I just forgot. Oh yeah, the big play against Denver last week was the trick play, right? The backwards, and then and Minka just I mean, anyone would have reacted the same way he did. Coming up, they're going to run it, and then they throw it deep. So they couldn't do anything against the Steelers really in all facets. The run defense has been good, not great so far. That's really the only critique so far.
Yeah.
But it should be pretty good overall. But that's going to be. I know we're going to talk about this Chargers Steelers game. That's going to be the biggest.
Oh yeah.
And we got Jim, Tony. What are you gonna do? He just.
Is that
it's Tony and Jim this week. So I'm excited.
Tony Romo going to be talking about Josh Allen for like.
yeah.
No, it's just there's been some times where it's like Jim. I don't know, Jim. Oh, it's gonna be close, Jim. Tony. And then he goes Tony. It's just funny. I love when those two do Steeler games. Yeah. NFL picks. I'm gonna get our lines up.
Should we go over the Patriots-Jets game to see who we picked real quick?
We all picked the Jets.
We all picked the Jets. Oh, cool.
And
okay.
the Jets.
No need to talk
Rodgers,
about that,
by the way, I'm just gonna mention this.
Really good game.
Oh, yeah.
Looked like MVP Rodgers because the first 2 weeks was like he can't move.
Yeah.
He looked like Kirk Cousins, and he looked back to moving, and he said after the game, "Yeah, I was moving around like a younger guy. Like I think he's slowly getting back in. I think if he could perform like that,
and the defense,
now they have some injuries, and the Hassan Reddick situation is a disaster. But and I know it was the Patriots, but the Patriots defense is normally ready to play, and they got that was a beatdown.
Yeah,
that was a beatdown last night.
And obviously the Patriots offense.
Their offensive line was hurt. The Patriots. I had the Jets defense in fantasy. They had 7 sacks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! You racked up the points.
I racked up the points. Yeah. Right. But so for our picks this week, I do want to say the standings right now, if we count the game from last week, Brian Cashman, our good friend, by the way, I believe he's in Milwaukee, right, for a wedding. Is it his sister?
It's his
sister's wedding. Yep.
Wow, that's good for Brian. But he hasn't put in his picks for this week because he's a little busy, so he may have an advantage over us. We'll see. But last week was a really rough week for all of us. Me and Brian Cashman survived at 500. We went 8-8. We had a couple upset picks. I know Jake Bell had an upset pick with the Cardinals. I had the Vikings and the Packers, which worked out. So me and Brian Cashman went 8-8, and Jake Bell and Nathan Schivins under 500.
I know.
Tomlin like 7
Yeah.
and 9.
This
Both
is
went
not-
7 and 9.
Yeah. This is not the standard.
This is not the
It's
standard.
not, yeah.
So, if you count last night, Brian Cashman.
Who's Jake Levisky? I've never heard of that guy.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I don't know why we just keep,
Yeah.
This name just keeps coming to our heads.
Yeah.
Brian Cashman is 18 and 14. Nathan Schivins, you're a game behind him at 17 and 15. And me and you are tied at 500, 16 and 16 through.
You got a couple 8 and 8s. Some 8 and 8s. So
Yeah, with the
far.
standard
Yeah.
is the
I
standard.
know. I'm literally the Atlanta Hawks of picking right now.
Okay, so let's get into it. What's your first game?
So I have Giants at the Browns. Giants at the Browns. That's like gonna be a crap show.
Oh yeah. All right, so I'll just say
The Browns, though, have a big win last week.
They did.
Over Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Who I don't know what's going on
Yeah,
with
but
them.
the Giants, they expounded all that energy to try to.
They
beat
let me
the
down so
Washington,
badly
they
last
lost.
week. Because they didn't have a kicker, and Malik Neighbors dropped the ball. That was so
Yeah.
bad.
But he had a really good game overall, other than that, Malik Neighbors. But
Yeah.
I like him a lot. But I took the Browns, and I took them to cover. I think it's going to be at least a 10-point win for the Browns. I know the Giants are just so bad. I don't know what else to say.
Peyton, you can go ahead if you want.
Yeah, the Giants for me are like, I said this, well, my dad actually said this. Hello, Dad. They're like smoking a cigarette. Like, you keep betting them and picking them to win, and they just let you down. Like, but you think they're gonna, you just think they're like, I don't know, something about them. Like, you think, I don't know, Brian Dable. I mean, the Giants' defense was not good last week, really. They should have won that game if they had a kicker and if Malik Neighbors catches the ball, but that's against the Commanders. Like, I want to take the Giants to win this game because of D-Massage. But the Browns are at home. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Browns.
Well, just also, like, they got destroyed in their first game at home. They can't let that happen. Oh, this is the Browns, though.
I'm probably going to take the Giants on the spread. Like, I think, because I think there's a chance, I mean, D-Massage, we don't know what we're going to ever get with him. But the Giants' defense, there's been nothing good there. So, I'm going to take the Browns to win this game.
So there hasn't been anything good with the Giants' defense, but there hasn't been anything good with Deshaun Watson. Give me the Browns. Sorry. Give me the Giants. And everyone's gonna laugh. That's all I'm gonna say.
No,
Giants are gonna
I will
win.
be so mad if the
Giants are gonna win.
Giants-
Giants are gonna win, and everyone's gonna laugh.
I
at
will
the
be
Browns.
so mad if the Giants win because I literally took
hope
them
the-
last week.
Well,
It
I hope
makes
the
me so
Giants
mad.
win just because it's nice to see the Browns be where they
I should have
should
just
be.
taken. But I'm sticking. Let me write these down. So, we got JB, BC. We don't have yet. NS and
BC.
PP, Pirate Peyton. So Browns,
At least we're being PG in some way.
Browns,
Barely.
Yeah.
Giants. If the Giants win, I swear.
I'll look like a genius if they did. But if
I wanted
if
to
they
take
lose,
them.
then I'm an
I think I'm
idiot,
going to take them on the spread. Cashman. I almost said Sherrington. BC.
I know it's
GMBC.
I was thinking that.
Schivins, Browns. Okay. And the line is that game is 6.5, I
Yeah.
believe. Go
All right,
ahead.
So the next game is Eagles at the Saints.
Oh.
I can go first. Yeah. So everybody's. I've been picking against the Saints, but I picked them week 1. But I picked the Cowboys to dominate last game. So obviously, I didn't agree with picks last week. Obviously, I think everybody's really high on the Saints. I think the Saints are, I think they're an average team. I think obviously what they've shown, if they play like this, they're a Super Bowl contender, but they're not going to play like this the whole year. I think the Eagles, everybody's down on them. I know their defense won't come to play. Alvin Kamara's going to have a huge game. He's going to run the ball like crazy. They can't stop the run at all. But I think the Eagles' offense shows up. They have really the first 2 games still. And I think it's a similar game to the Eagles-Packers game in week 1. I think the Eagles win. I think they're slight favorites, or there might be underdogs.
No, Saints are 3-point favorites.
Oh, wow.
Well, it was
Yeah.
actually 2.5. It went up to 3.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the upset then. I got to get some upset picks. I had one upset pick, and it was...
It's at New Orleans. You're taking the Eagles.
I'm going to take the Eagles to win, yeah. Pull off the upset there. EAGL.
No.
Kenny Pickett. They're starting the wrong quarterback.
They are
right
starting the wrong quarterback. They'd be 2-0, but averaging 15 points a game.
now. They'd be the Steelers,
Yeah.
but with a terrible defense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, first of all, about the Saints. I mean, they're the surprise of the year. And I was saying week 1, I heard something that they're the least enthusiastic franchise. At least the fan base is the least enthusiastic. Well, that certainly has changed.
Oh yeah.
And it goes to show coaching is so important. Look what a difference. I mean, Derek Carr I always liked, but he's just had so much turnover, so many just craziness happening. And Clint Kubiak, I mean, what a job this guy's doing with the motions. I mean, this guy's from the Gary Kubiak Shanahan. His dad is Gary Kubiak. He's from the Shanahan tree. And what an amazing job. Alvin Kamara is excellent. We know that now he's, looking like he did with Drew Brees. I want to take the Eagles, but no A.J. Brown is a concern for me. And I think their defense is going to get better as the year goes along. I don't know. What do you think, Jake Bell?
So,
I'm going to toss this one to you.
do you guys know how?
Because I honestly am stuck.
Do you guys know how in 2018 Fitzmagic with the Bucks just went off for 2 games? What happened in the 3rd game? They lost to a team that imploded in the playoffs the year before in the Steelers. The Eagles imploded in the playoffs last year against the Bucks and had that terrible start to end the year. The Saints are going to lose to the Eagles, but it's going to be a close, high-scoring game. And then that's going to be the end of the Saints' magic. Eagles are winning.
Okay, I feel really stuck about this game, but since you guys are both taking the Eagles, I'm going to take the Saints.
Ooh.
Because without A.J. Brown, he's not the same quarterback, Hurts. So I'm going to take the Saints. They're going to keep, when the Saints come marching in, I want to be in that number. All right, shut up, Peyton. Moving on to the next game. Saints. I got the Saints.
It is.
That helps our thing though. That helps because if everybody went Eagles, I would be much less confident.
Yeah.
But now you kind of balance it out for us.
So it is the Texans at the Vikings.
Oh, what a good game.
That is.
The Vikings, I was so proud of the Vikings last week. They were my pick. I had money on them. I said they were going to win outright here on this podcast. Vikings. But go ahead, Nate. I'm just proud of the Vikings.
Yeah,
The Texans win on Sunday night. Sam Darnold, I've been saying he's going to have a turnaround year this year. He's going to have like a Baker Mayfield last year kind of year. It's looking that way, that 97-yard touchdown to Jefferson.
Yeah, obviously, we know he has the receivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has the tight end. So
Hawkinson's not even
he
with them.
hasn't even played yet.
Yeah.
Last week I took the Niners, but I took the Vikings to cover. I just thought the Niners with all their injuries right now, it's too much confidence in them. But I'm gonna stay away from the Vikings again. I think it was a really nice win against the Niners and everything, but I think the Texans pull off the win. I think the Texans are favorites in this game. I'm gonna take the
2-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Texans to win. But I think obviously, everyone thinks it's probably gonna be a pretty close game and a really good game. I think it's a really nice matchup. But I think it could be high scoring. The Texans really haven't scored that much. I mean, except for the first game. The last game, they didn't really score as much. I think they score a lot in this game. I think it's a high scoring Texans win.
No one talks about this, but Brian Flores cooked up a masterpiece last week. I mean, he really did. That game was only a 9-point win. They should have won that. They dominated that game.
Oh yeah.
And their defense, I believe, has the most sacks in football right now, which I don't think that's going to sustain itself. The Vikings are just a hot football team right now. The Texans, their defense, their pass rush is pretty good. Their secondary's kind of I think people are still kind of doubting the Vikings. I'm going to ride the hot hand. I took them last week. I got to just take them again. So I'm taking Minnesota again this week.
I'm also riding the hot hand. It's just the Texans, I feel like they're due just to lose. It's like a weird thing to say.
They're such a good football team.
Yeah, they are a good football team, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, you could say the same thing about the Vikings. They're due to lose. But I'm going with the Vikings. I don't know. I think it's going to be the Texans' first loss this week. Just a gut feeling. I'd like to put more in, thought into this, but as I realized, you have a better shot with dumb luck than you do knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the Vikings just based on because I believe in them. All right, so the next one is the Broncos at the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, Bucks. They didn't really look.
Bucks are
Well, they got.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, last week they got thoroughly dominated. They got outgained by like almost 250 yards against the Lions, but they won because Jared Goff had a couple bad turnovers and everything.
And Todd Bowles knows what he's doing as a defensive
Right.
coach. He really does.
And Denver going on the road again. I think people are sleeping on Tampa. I think Tampa wins if they. I don't know if they cover. That line's kind of. I think it'll be around kind of what that Broncos Seahawks game was, kind of similar. I think the Bucks win and they start 3-0.
Yeah, Denver is just they look horrible on offense, and I love Sean Payton, but Bo Nix, looked bad, and Todd Bowles, Mike Tomlin figured them out. Todd Bowles is probably going to figure them out. Baker Mayfield is just, he's really in the zone right now. I think the Bucks will eventually kind of fall off. They're not as talented as they were maybe last year, but the Bucks could still they could still win that division. The NFC South has always been a joke, but other than the Panthers, those three teams, Falcons, Saints, Bucks, all very interesting right now. They're at home, so it's kind of the obvious pick, but yeah, I'm gonna ride with the Bucks.
Yeah, put me in for the Bucks too. I like Bo Nix, but this team just isn't good. This Broncos team, and
they have no weapons.
Yeah,
they have
don't.
no. That's another thing. They have no weapons.
They're
Cortland Sutton.
Yeah,
that's
they're
it.
throwing him in the fire instead of letting him wait a year and improve the team before you have him start. So it's just gonna be the Bucks.
This is kind of a similar situation like Broncos and Patriots here with rookie quarterbacks, but two teams taking much different approaches.
Yeah, I agree with the Patriots.
I think so too.
Because that team isn't good.
Well,
Drake
especially
May's
with their
good.
offensive lines.
Yeah.
Their offensive
He almost
lines
threw
are
a
good.
pick last night in
Yeah,
his first
he
pass.
got it right at the end.
But I think he had the running back wide open downfield, and he was nervous and just took the check down.
Yeah, it's just that team is too bad for Drake May to be thrown under the fire. I think teams make that mistake. I think they made that mistake with Bryce Young. Andy Dalton should have been named the starter that year. And
May's getting in there because if Brissett's not going to survive. That poor guy. He's probably in bed today, he can't even get up.
Yeah.
He's getting smacked yesterday.
Yep. Well, the next one we got is Packers at the Titans, a little revenge game for Malik Willis.
Well, there's a chance Jordan Love. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a chance Jordan Love returns. There is a chance.
For that game, really?
Yes, I was listening to Rappaport today. There is a chance. I think it's more likely they sit him out.
I would sit him out if I'm them.
But there's a chance. But I think he's definitely back by next week, which is great for the Packers.
It is. Wow.
Yeah, so this is an interesting matchup. Again, obviously, Malik Willis' former team. It was just last month that he was with the Titans, and now he's with Green Bay. They had a really nice win last week against Indianapolis.
It's in the script.
And I'm going to take the Packers to win this game, I think. Or no, wait. No, I took the Titans. I took the Titans to win this game, actually, and get their win. I was going to say, because I think they know Malik Willis. I think they know how to defend him. I think he had a really didn't turn the ball over or anything, but they really didn't. I think the Titans stopped the run a little bit better. I know their defense is not really hasn't been that good, really, but other than the first game when they played Caleb Williams, but last week against Jets, it wasn't that great, but I'm going to take the Titans to win and the Malik Willis show to kind of end after 1 week.
Jake, I want to hear your thoughts on this game because I'm kind of stumped.
I honestly think I've picked the Titans every week, and I'm still gonna go with them. They're home. It's just Levis is bound to have at least a decent game. He's looked awful.
He's so bad. He has to be one of the worst decision makers in all I've ever seen.
But
it's bad.
I do understand why the Titans are starting him because you feel like you're going to accomplish more knowing what you have in Levis because he has the tools to be a really good quarterback. Like you say, he's not
a bust. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But the good thing is he's a second round pick, not the first overall pick like Bryce Young. So anyway, I think the Titans are going to win. It's just Malik Willis did enough to win last week, but he's going to be the starter that just goes 1-1, doesn't crap the bed, but he doesn't do anything spectacular. Then Love comes in, does what he's got to do, and just proves that he's their guy, like he has. So.
Now, if Love plays, that changes everything.
Well,
it does, yeah.
But
But
I
I've picked the Titans or I picked against the Titans both weeks, thinking about taking them but not taking them. And I was thinking about taking them this week because I think everyone's back on the Green Bay train because their defense looked good, but the Callahans like to run the ball. They're going to run the ball a lot. The Packers' run defense has always been suspect. Oh, I hate Will Levis. I hate this guy so much. Green Bay going to Tennessee. Yeah, I think it could be the Malik Willis revenge game. I mean, it really could be. But I mean, they hung in there with the Jets. I'm gonna take the Titans too. I feel like this is down.
That's
to
crazy,
go bad.
sweeping the table with the Titans of all teams. That's funny. All right, well, the next team we have is the Bears at Indianapolis playing the Colts.
Yeah,
I hate this game.
I do too.
I think the Colts. I think this is one of my more. I'm locked in. I think the Colts win this one. I think they're not going to start 0-3. It might be. It probably will be a closer game. I can't see. They're so talented, and they were at least decent last year, and almost made the playoffs with Gardner Minshew, and now Anthony Richardson is he's doing kind of what we expected him to do, where he's a little loose. He's making the wrong decisions sometimes, but he's shown his flashes of just like crazy talent, but he's thrown a lot of interceptions so far. But I think the Colts win, probably close, probably a little bit more low scoring because the Bears' defense has been pretty good so far. I think they have a pretty good overall defense.
Oh, because I love both of these teams, for different reasons. But yeah, the Bears' O-line is an issue. Now, the Colts' defense isn't great. Their pass rush is going to be decent, though. They're at home. That's a rough environment for Caleb Williams. I'm hoping Caleb Williams does good because I have, Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet, and I have Caleb on my... I have a lot of Bears on my bench that I need to step up just in case, something bad happens. But yeah, Anthony Richardson was so bad last week. I'm going to go with... the Colts, the Colts are a good football team, I think. Richardson, I'm concerned about. I like Richardson, though. I think, I predicted he was going to have a bad game last week. I think he bounces back. I think it was just a bad spot for him. The Bears' defense is really good, though. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Colts as well. I'm going to go with the Colts.
Well, originally I had the Colts. I have it actually written down here. But I'm changing my mind. I am changing my mind. I'm going with the Bears. I know that sounds crazy because I'm not high on Caleb Williams. But I could see a situation where he's on the road, gets his first win, and all media hypes it up like it's the greatest thing. That's what I think is going to happen. And the Bears are going to beat Anthony Richardson. He's going to start 0-3.
They're waiting on it. They're already. Yeah. They're trying everything they can to hype him up even through 2 games. Yep. Because they all had him as the best quarterback since,
Yeah, it's every year. It's like, oh, this guy's the best. Since.
People were comparing Caleb Williams to Mahomes, right? But you have to remember, Mahomes was considered erratic coming out of college, right? And I think that's kind of what Caleb is. But Mahomes had a whole year to sit behind Alex Smith. Yeah. Caleb's getting thrown into the fire.
Which I hate. I hate teams doing this. I hate it.
We thought the offensive line was decent for Chicago, but my God, were they horrible last month. Every play he was getting pressured.
Yeah.
And I think Caleb's going to end up being really, really good. And I think as the season goes along, we're going to see more he's going to get better.
Yeah.
But I think we definitely thought he was going to come out of the gates running, but because he was compared to Mahomes. But they didn't. People need to realize what Mahomes' situation was as a rookie quarterback is kind of similar to Williams. They both a little erratic, and Mahomes learned over his career as Williams will learn over his career. You got to just take the check downs.
Yeah.
You got to. We saw him in that Texans game. He was throwing across the field that one play. Got picked. It was overturned because of a penalty.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has some learning to do, which I think he will. But the Bears worry me with that offensive line for him. And, it's a defensive coach. Shane Waldron, Russ had some of his best years with Shane Waldron, but, I don't know what to really think of him. So, And Keenan Allen might be out this week, so I don't know. I hope he does better this week because the Colts defense isn't all that great, but Indianapolis home field is rough.
Well, the next game we have is the Chargers at Pittsburgh, playing the Steelers.
The
So.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to watch this game and
this
see it
will
at a
be
home
Interesting.
opener.
It
And
will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested in the game, but I think it's gonna be like a classic Steeler football game.
oh, because Harbaugh and Tomlin are kind of similar with the run the ball.
There's gonna be a
thing.
lot of running in this
Yeah.
game. No, I went back and forth on this, and I was actually surprised that the Steelers were favored. I thought the media would go in Vegas would like buy the hype with the Chargers. Now, I mean, they're 2-0. They've dominated through 2 games, but Justin Herbert hasn't really thrown the ball much at all. I mean,
He
really,
hasn't had to.
to, right? But we haven't. We know the receivers' talent there is iffy right now. I think the big key is going to be who can stop the run, and I think both teams won't really run that well in this game, so I think it's going to be really low scoring, and I think the Steelers win. I think they do, but I could very easily see the Chargers winning, and Steelers being 2-1. But I think it would be crazy to see them 3-0 because there's just so many especially offensive like flaws so far. But
Losing, never heard of her. That's what we're gonna be getting at. We're gonna have an 11-0
Oh boy.
run. Oh my gosh.
that was
would
like
be bad.
I was so frustrated that year. I was
Yeah.
like, why do we keep winning and we're not?
Yeah.
And then like immediately they just fall off.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I have the
Yeah.
Steelers
Jake,
winning.
what's your opinion on this game?
I think the Chargers come in and beat the Steelers just based on the fact that the Steelers win because their opponents make mistakes. And the Steelers don't make mistakes like turning the ball over for touchdowns. And they kind of wait for their opposing team to just collapse. I don't think the Chargers are going to do that. I think the Chargers are going to play safe football just like we do. And I think they have the better quarterback and the better running game to just beat us. And I know we have a great defense, but I think that the Chargers could easily wear and tear us down. And there's only so much our defense can do for a full game of just running the ball constantly, being on the field a long time. I think the Chargers win. It's going to be a close game, like all Steeler games are, for the most part. But I think the Chargers come out on top. So
This will be a classic Steeler football game, as Nathan said. And going into this week, I was all on the Chargers. I just like them more as a team. I like the quarterback more. I probably like the coach a little more. The line comes out, though, as the Steelers as a favorite in this game, which I thought was a bit surprising. And to add on to that, Herbert has an ankle injury, and he's been very limited in practice. I think he's going to play, but I think he's going to be limited. And it's going to come down to who can make... I like Herbert more, but I think Tomlin's going to give Herbert some fits. Now, if they can't stop the run, though, then that's going to be an issue. But I think the Steelers will do good enough against the run. I hate taking the Steelers. I really do, but I'm going to take the Steelers as well here.
Yeah, I use like the same rationales. Like it's the same line as the Washington-New York game, where last week it was like a weird line, like why is Washington only 1.5 point? But now this week it's like
I thought the Chargers should have been favored.
yeah, this is like the
Yeah,
opposite
I
in that
also-
regard. Where I thought the Chargers should have been favored. I thought they would be favored.
yeah.
But now that it's the Steelers are favored, it kind of gave me a pause. I was like, oh, maybe something's up there on the Chargers side. So should be like 16-13. I think it's gonna be like 16-13, like
Something like that.
17-14,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
All right, so next we have the Dolphins at the Seahawks. First full game without Tua.
Skylar Thompson.
I don't know why he's still the backup there.
Who did
That is
they?
crazy.
They signed somebody else. Like do you know who they signed?
Tyler Huntley.
Oh, they signed.
So
Tyler
is he going to
Huntley.
start? Or no, I would imagine not because they just signed him.
Yeah, but I think he's the better.
Probably.
I think people. Yeah, he was. I know.
With Tyler Huntley, wait a second. Why was he off the Ravens let him go?
They signed him off the practice squad. You're allowed to steal players from the practice
Why
squad.
was he? He was a great backup for
Well,
Baltimore.
he was with Cleveland.
Yeah, he was with Cleveland.
in the.
Wasn't he with the Ravens?
Yeah, he
though?
was with the Ravens, and then this before the season, the preseason with the.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
who's the
And
Ravens' backup now?
They kept Watson, Winston, and DTR instead of Huntley.
I'm talking about the Ravens, though.
Oh, Why I say the Browns
I don't-
quarterback. Ravens, I don't even know.
I don't
who they
know.
have.
Because Tyler Huntley fits their scheme. He won them some games, got them in the
Yeah.
playoffs. They
Yeah.
almost beat the Bengals in the wild card game if he doesn't fumble.
And he is a former Pro Bowler.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
no.
like
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley's.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The Ravens let him go. So you, wait, what game are we? Oh, Dolphins
Dolphins,
Seahawks.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what game is this?
We were like, we went
Yeah.
for like Dolphins, Seahawks, and Tyler Huntley and the Ravens.
The Seahawks have played some bad teams and have not played all that. I mean, the Patriots hung in there with them. But I do not trust Skylar Thompson. And it's at Seattle. Mike McDonald, the wise guys like Mike McDonald as a defensive coach. So I'm going to take Seattle here.
Yeah, me as well. I'm gonna take Seattle to win, and they'll pray. The line's like 4. I think that's just
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, they respect like the the overall team, but I don't know how Skylar Thompson's gonna get the ball consistently to Tyreek Hill. That's what I mean. If he gets the ball just every once in a while, they can keep it close. I'm gonna take the Seahawks though to win.
You know what?
3-0.
Just now, I'm changing my mind. I had the Seahawks, but you know what? I'm going with the Dolphins because I think the Seahawks starting out 3-0 is just unrealistic. And I think Mike McDaniels somehow is just going to find a way to win. And I think they have the running
I think
backs
it's
to be able
possible.
to. I think it's possible. I'm just going to go with my gut.
If
just
the
to go with
Dolphins
something
were at
different.
home, I'd probably take
Yeah.
Miami
Yeah.
here.
I mean, obviously the smart choice would be Seahawks, but I'm just going to go with the wild
Right.
card and think the
You
Dolphins.
heard our rationale, and you're like,
Yeah.
these guys don't know what to do.
No, I heard it, and I'm like, it makes too much sense, but the NFL
I might
doesn't
take
make
the
sense.
Dolphins on the spread there, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah, it is. The Seahawks aren't. I wasn't too high on them going into the
they're
season.
3-0. They're not going to be a very
I don't-
deserving
Yeah.
3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the Steelers win, they won't be either.
Well, next we have the Panthers at the Raiders.
Oh yeah.
Little cross country.
Oh yeah, we were talking about how New Orleans is the most like unenthusiastic. I was kind of shocked by that because the Carolina Panthers exist.
Yes, yes.
And,
Well, that was at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
well, yeah, well,
Because the Panthers, they had a new coach. They had brought in
Right.
some receivers. Like, there was something interesting.
right
like,
now
is
it has
Bryce
to
Young
be
going to bounce?
It has to be Carolina right now. Bryce
Oh,
Young, that's a crazy. He was 18 of 26 for 84 yards.
Yeah.
That is just awful. I mean, that's like 3 yards. It's over 3 yards an attempt. I mean, yeah, Raiders. I mean, but I think with Andy Dalton, I think they're going. It's gonna be actually a close game. I think Andy Dalton's like a much better quarterback right now. He's not very good. He's gonna be all right, but he's a much better fit right now.
And Dave Canales is a good coach. I think that's why he benched Bryce Young, because it's like, I can't do anything
And,
right
and
now.
it's not
with him.
his guy. It's not the guy that he drafted.
No,
Right.
I can't do
So-
anything with
And we've
him.
seen the coaches and GMs. They're very keen on that.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. Pittsburgh Pirates, but yeah. What was I gonna say?
I
Oh,
do
yeah.
feel bad for
Oh yeah,
Young,
Bryce Young. It was funny. He said that he was like shocked by this news. Bro, you were 18 of 26 for
Yeah.
84 yards. Like any good coach is gonna like.
Yeah.
but- Yeah.
It's very hard on the eyes.
He did say, though, after the game, we're riding with Bryce.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going with the Raiders, but I feel bad for Bryce Young. He reminded me a lot of Marcus Mariota coming out of college. A guy that put up big numbers, but to me didn't do anything that excited me. That like, you know, Anthony Richardson has the cannon of an arm. C.J. Stroud makes every single good decision. It's just Young, like, he benefited from a talented team, but like he just didn't do anything special in my opinion, like Marcus Mariota in college. But Marcus Mariota was put in a much better situation than Young was, and you know, Young being thrown into the fire right away on a bad team, that's just a recipe for disaster. And I know they want to stress on the number 1 pick doing well, but like a quarterback that doesn't have the ability to do anything insane and is just thrown under the fire, it's not going to work. And I just feel bad for him.
And some of the criticism of him, like I don't think it's all about his height right now. They're just saying, oh, he's too short, he's too short.
I don't think
But,
that's the reason.
But he got out of the pocket the one play. Do you remember this? He scrambled, got out of
I
the
haven't
pocket,
watched any
Yeah.
Panthers
and
games.
instead of like throwing it away, well, there was just like this was like the one play I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
He like because it was like a massive hit. He like scrambled out. Oh my bad, I slapped the mic. But he scrambled out, and there was like nobody open. Just throw it out of bounds, whatever. He like he's trying to do something. He's trying to find something, and he gets just destroyed. He's like waiting, and they lose like so many yards. So like in that instance, like you couldn't even see the field there. I mean, the play, no one was open, just throw it away. But
Yeah.
that could be a lot of that is just like maybe the pressure he feels that he's under for just underperforming overall. But
Yeah.
I just don't like the excuse where it's like, oh, he's just too short.
If you look at Kyler Murray. I mean, like he has all the talent in the world, and it showed that.
I mean, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's examples. There's not that many.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't think it's the be all end all for quarterbacks.
Well, the next game we got.
Wait, I didn't make my pick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I didn't make my pick.
We're yapping a little bit.
I am going with the Panthers. Season, I'm picking the Panthers. Red Rifle, Andy Dalton's going to bring an energy to this team. The Raiders are so overvalued right now because they beat the Ravens. Panthers I like Dave Canales. There's got to something good has to happen for the Panthers. There's got to be like I'm going with the Panthers, and I didn't realize I have like all home teams winning right now, so I need to go with a big upset. And I'm going with the Panthers. That'll probably be a horrible decision, but I like Andy Dalton a lot. I mean, he's always been reliable. He'll run the offense the way Dave Canales wants it. They have some weapons. Their defense isn't terrible.
Right.
Like the defense has been put in a bad position. The Raiders' offense isn't that dynamic. I mean, I could see the Panthers pulling it off here. I really could.
Well, the next game we got is 49ers at the Rams. This is actually a lot more of an interesting matchup than it seems.
Well, there's a lot of injuries on both sides, especially the Rams' offensive line.
I feel so bad for and I have the Rams winning the division this year. It's just like they're so injured.
Yeah, you can't protect injuries.
Their whole offensive line is basically injured. Their two incredible receivers are out. I picked the Rams 2 weeks in a row, but I'm going to stay away from them. But for the Niners, I mean, McCaffrey's out, obviously. I think Deebo Samuel's out,
and we saw that affect them last week.
Yeah,
we did.
I think the 49ers win. It's going to be basically a home game. I think they win. And the Rams, I mean, this could be an awful start. But I think it could be close just because the injuries on both sides. And Sean McVay is not going to... Well, they got blown out last week, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So you're going with the 49ers? You?
I'm going with the 49ers. It's just... I think the 49ers are the better team with an equal amount of injuries, and I think that it's going to slow the Rams down more than it will the 49ers.
Well, the Rams got embarrassed last week.
Yeah, they did.
Embarrassed. And I just like this Rams team too much. I like Matthew Stafford too much. They're 6.5 dogs at home, although home doesn't really matter in this instance. But McVay has kind of always had an edge over Shanahan. So this is going to be, I have back-to-back big upsets here. I'm taking the Rams. I don't want them to go 0-3. I don't see them going 0-3. The 49ers, there's going to be some questions going into them after they lose this game this week. So I'm taking the Rams. But right. I mean, the 49ers will bounce back, but I picked against the 49ers last week. Let's keep it rolling.
So we got Lions at the Cardinals.
Yeah. Cardinals very awesome win last week against the Rams, obviously 41-10. And they played well against the Bills, the defense didn't, but they played well against the Bills. They were right in it. They had the chance to win that one. The Lions had a really bad performance last week in terms of just the turnovers and bad moments. They were moving the ball fine. I think they moved the ball fine against the Cardinals. I think it's a good high-scoring game, kind of like the Bills-Cardinals game. I think the Lions pulled out, though. I don't think they're going to start 1-2.
What about you, Jake?
Oh, my turn. I think the Lions as well. It's just, I was a big Kyler Murray hater, but now I'm starting to like the Cardinals and him a little bit. I'm like, I like what they're doing, but the Lions are going to win this game. It's just the Cardinals have to be humbled eventually, and they're going to realize that. I think they're still going to have a good season, knowing how well they can play. But give me the Lions for this.
I also am going to take the Lions. The Cardinals are extremely overvalued. Lions off a bad week. Lions are the better football team. The Cardinals' defense is not good. I don't know what got into them last. I mean, obviously injuries to Stafford or to Kupp and the O-line, but the Cardinals' defense is still not very good. I'm gonna take the Lions here as well.
So next game we have Ravens at the Cowboys.
Wow, yeah, this is a big game for both teams because
Especially the Ravens right now.
Especially the Ravens because 0-3 looks
Yeah.
really bad for them, and they still got all their division matchups and everything. So that's why I'm gonna pick the Ravens. I think the Ravens win. I think because if they start 0-3, I mean, like we mentioned, the stakes in this division. I think the Bengals are gonna win this week as well. Obviously, I think the Bengals are gonna They played pretty. They had a bad week one. They usually have a bad week one, and they played well against the Chiefs last week. So I'm gonna take the Ravens, and I think the Cowboys defense. There are a lot of questions. I know it's kind of hard to understand where they're at right now because they played so well defensively against the Browns, but that was Deshaun Watson. But they played so poorly last week, so I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think it's a really good game, and I think the sky is falling in Dallas. I think it's gonna be. I mean, the world's ending in Dallas. They were
8-0 at home last year. They're already 0-1.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna take the Ravens.
Well, give me the Ravens as well. Watching the Steelers my entire life, if they start out bad, you just know they're gonna win at a certain point. You're like, okay, the Steelers are gonna win. They're not gonna start out this bad. It's the same way with the Ravens. I think they go out here, go into Dallas, get a W, and then maybe the Cowboys can figure stuff out. But I think the Ravens come home with a dub.
Well, logically, it makes sense to go with the Ravens here because Lamar Jackson against the NFC is a different animal.
Yeah.
Because these NFC teams don't know how to handle him.
Yeah.
They don't. However, the Cowboys defense got embarrassed last week. Again, another team that got embarrassed. Gosh, I don't want to take the Cowboys. I really, really, really don't want to take the Cowboys. But the Ravens O-line has issues. And you get Micah Parsons off the edge. Other than Zay Flowers, it's not like they have a bunch of crazy weapons at receiver. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys. And the Ravens go 0-3. It's hard to even imagine that. I still think with the Ravens being 0-3, they're still going to be okay. They're going to be... They might not win the division. They're still going to be fine. So I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I hate it. It doesn't make sense. But...
Well, I'd rather the Cowboys win because then the Ravens are in such a hole.
Yep.
But...
Well, next we got Chiefs at the Falcons. This is actually more of an interesting game than you would have thought going into...
Yeah, I thought...
You know what I mean? So.
I thought going this matchup, it could be, really bad for the Falcons because, if they lost and they were 0-2 and then you play the Chiefs, then they could be starting 0-3, but they got the win. Their offense looked a lot better, and their defense is, it's going to be, okay, it's not going to be great, but I did really like their off-season additions, kind of late in the off-season, getting Justin Simmons and getting, what's his name from the Patriots, Judon from the Patriots. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this one, though. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think they're ready for this game. I worry the Chiefs in the regular season, it's kind of, it's kind of hard to tell. It's hard to know. Sometimes they lose these games. You're like, why'd you, the Raiders won last year, but obviously the Falcons are a much better team. But I'm going to take the Chiefs. It'll be kind of like a home game for them as well. But I think they get it done. But I think it's a really fun game, good game.
So I'm going with the Chiefs. It's just, to me, betting against the Chiefs is just the worst bet you could ever have. I've learned that every time. Every time I do a playoff bracket, I'm like, Chiefs aren't going to win at this time, and they always do. So I'm not betting against the Chiefs. I've learned my lesson. They'll go to the Falcons and beat them.
Well, the Falcons should have lost last week. The Falcons were competitive, but they should have lost last week. Kirk Cousins, I think, is still adjusting, still getting back into a rhythm. He still looks a little tense back there. I think that last drive felt like the old Kirk Cousins before the Achilles. I think he's slowly getting back into things, but it's gonna take him a minute. The Falcons just got so lucky last week, so I'm gonna take the Chiefs here as well.
All right. Well, the next game, the second to last game,
Two Monday Night Football games, which is strange.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, but it is Jaguars at the Bills. So.
Yeah. So the Jaguars have really.
They look bad.
They bothered me right now. They have not delivered. I picked them twice. I picked them to win. I not only picked them to win the first two games. I picked them to win the AFC South, and that looks really bad right now. Trevor Lawrence looks really bad right now as well. He hasn't won a game. He's lost like 8 straight games or something like that.
They're gonna have to fire I think there could be an in-season firing here.
Very, very.
Because
if they
Trevor Lawrence is too. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So like I I don't see them start going 3, but I can't pick them again.
Yeah.
Because they keep failing me. So I picked the Bills. It could be a close game. It could be a blowout. If it's a blowout, then really, I mean, I agree, Peyton. I mean, Doug Peterson might be, because this is a team that has all the pieces to be winning right now. And I thought, like, being under the radar and everything, with chip on their shoulder after such a bad end of the season last year, I thought they would be ready to go and locked and loaded, but they haven't been good. So I'm going to go with the, I almost said I'm going to go with the Jaguars. With that being said, I'm going to go with the Bills to win.
I am going with the Bills. I just think they get outcoached in this game, and the Bills just come out on top. Like, there's not much I could really explain about this one. Like you guys said, the Jaguars don't look good, and Bills at home, like, come on. Just give me the Bills. I think they're going to win.
It makes no sense, but I'm going to take the Jags.
Sometimes the NFL doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's the NFL, you know what I mean?
I think the Bills just play down to their competition a lot. They didn't last week against the Dolphins. They've had 10 days off, which I think isn't always a good thing, you know? And the Jags need this game. I'm going to really watch them to see what the heck is wrong with them, because I'm assuming they lose this game. Like, I mean, the Bills' defense is better than what they saw with the Dolphins' defense, and the Browns' defense is pretty good, but I don't want to take the Jags, but I'm going to take them anyway. I'm just going to take them. They need to win this game. They've got to win. They're desperate. 0-2.
I think it will be a close game because, I mean, the Bills. I'm not really high on the Bills' defense, actually. I mean, they gave up a ton to the Cardinals as well, but and they lost, I mean, some key pieces as well. But I think it could be a close game, kind of high scoring. But Jaguars, man, this is quite a hold. And some of these teams we thought were going to be really good, with the potential to be 0-3, and then it's really hard. I don't know what the statistics are, but I know the one stat's like really hard when you start 0-2, let alone 0-3.
Yeah.
So yeah, big weeks for some of these teams for sure.
So we have finally got to the last game, and that is Commanders at the Bengals.
Saving the best for last, obviously. Yeah. Bengals and Commanders. Yeah, I think the Bengals. This is one of those classic, like, Washington coming off a win, then getting blown out. I think the Bengals haven't gotten a win yet. I think they get the job done. I think it's probably a blowout, to be honest.
I agree. I think the Bengals are so mad at everything that happened with the Chiefs game that the Commanders are going to come into Cincinnati and get absolutely whooped. That's what I think is going to happen.
And here's Peyton taking Washington.
He's going to say this doesn't make sense again and go Commanders.
No, I'm not. I'm taking the Bungles. I'm taking the Bungles. The Bengals worry me, though. But I think the Commanders could cover this. Because there's just the Jamar Chase, there just seems to be some drama there. The defense is hit and miss. Burrow's been hit or miss. I mean, the last two, he looked better last week for sure. But, he had the fumble. But, yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals because the Commanders' defense is just so poor. Yep. So poor.
Well, those are our Week 3 picks. We'll see what happens with that. But just real quick before we end, finally, I know you guys have been anticipating it all day. We got my little mini game. So I told you guys, I mean, not that you had to, but I was just saying, think of Pitt quarterbacks from 2016. And I'll give you the choice on how you guys want to do this. But I'm going to have you guys try to name the 5 best quarterbacks, in my opinion, that I have watched at Pitt since 2016. If you guys want to collectively do this and do this together, you can. If you guys want to go against each other, pick your own top 5 and see who wins. Good, that's good too. However you guys want to do that.
You want to do a collective?
You guys can. It's up to you.
It's up to you. I don't really care. Let's collect.
All right, so I will give you a hint though. Think in my mind, but don't let that be your end all be all.
Okay, when it comes to quarterback with Jake Bell, he doesn't like the crazy guys that can do crazy things. He likes the guys who don't turn the ball over, right? So, well, obviously,
Maybe.
So Ben DiNucci's obviously won.
No, okay. So Kenny Pickett has to be 1.
Well, I do like the guys that could do the crazy things, but I'm just thinking of the quarterbacks that have been the most productive, in my opinion, that I have seen. Like the guys that were good. Like
All right, so
Kenny Pickett is
1.
1.
All right, maybe we should list some of them.
If you guys have to look up on your phone, go for it.
So
I'm not
there
gonna make
was
you
some
guys
of the
memorize.
quarterbacks. So like from 2016. So Nathan Peterman's
Nathan.
got to be on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe Nate Yardell, possibly.
Nate Yardell.
It wouldn't correct.
Well, the
so
sample
then
size. That would,
Ben DiNucci stinks. He stunk.
And I do have it. I texted it to my friend like the top 12. But I'm just gonna name you guys.
Okay.
Unless
Then
you guys
there
wanna
was
do 12.
Max Brown.
Max
Do you remember?
Brown.
He
Yeah,
stunk.
Max
though.
Brown. Yeah.
You guys could do 12 if you want, but I'll just stick to 5.
No, we're
just 'cause,
taking
you know,
it.
that's
We're
fun.
sticking to 5.
Were there actually
Yeah.
12? That's
Well, no, there was 13, but it was like Ricky Town. He had like 1 pass, so I didn't.
There was
count him.
one guy named Joey Yellen. I think in 2020 he started for us.
He was the worst. He was.
Was he bad?
He was very bad. He
Okay.
was not- he's gonna be in the top 5.
Yarnell could be 5. I could see. I mean, trying to think who else was in there.
Dracovic. I mean,
He's
yeah.
horrible.
There's like a couple that were really good, and then there's like all like terrible. So like 5 could be.
I think he likes Nate Yarnell. I think Nate Yarnell
Yeah,
is
I
on
like
the
Nate,
list.
He might be. Nick
But
Patty.
there's
Nick Patty's gotta
there
be
isn't
on
a
there.
lot to work with pick quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So
I
you
know,
know,
well,
this
Because there has been like stability as a starter for the
Correct.
most part, right?
Yeah.
With Peterman and then
I would
obviously
put
Pickett after.
Yarnell. I would put Patty 4, and maybe Yarnell 5.
I could see that.
And then you have Peterman,
Peterman 2.
and then Slovis 3.
Slovis.
He's got to be in the top 5, right? Compared to some of these quarterbacks we've had.
Is this like the ones you like, or just like overall like best production?
in my
I mean,
opinion
In his
that I have
opinion.
watched.
like the best.
I may have a vendetta against some people, but like
feel
this
like
is
you-
against who I have watched that I'm like, wow,
Okay.
like this is, you know what I mean? So
I feel like you're kind of low on Keaton Slow. I don't know.
He might be. I think he could have Yarnell over Keed Slovis. What about Peterman? How high do you think he is on Peterman? Because
Peterman has to be. 2.
Peterman was good. He was so
yeah,
good.
He has to be 2. In my opinion, but this is not my opinion. This is-
I think
I-
we should put Peterman in the middle.
in my opinion, this is a very fair hint. Think into what in my lens, but don't make that your end all be all.
Okay.
That's the best hint I can give you.
So that's where like. You know,
Peterman. I mean, there's no way Slovis are better than. I mean, Peterman, his production.
No, Slovis is
So I'm gonna put Peterman at 2.
Peterman had one of the better games I've ever seen. The Clemson, I love that game. That was such a fun.
And we got
game.
the flag.
Yeah.
Remember that with Connor? Like it was
Yeah.
unnecessary roughness. I think that helped us.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the tight end's name that was just so good? in that
Scott
game?
Orndorff.
Yes,
Scott Orndorff. He's my guy. I think I saw him at a Pitt game, but I
And,
didn't recognize him till late. But
And Chris Blewett, obviously.
Dude, that guy had a leg, but then he'd like do the worst. Remember that Boston College game? Was that him? He missed like an extra point
I
and
don't
we
remember.
lost.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was him
I
or
don't
not.
remember.
But anyway,
All right, so yeah, I think it's Pickett, Peterman. Yeah, I would go Slovis 3, but it's not my.
I think Patty could be 3.
Yeah, he just didn't.
Who are we forgetting? Somebody? I
We're
don't.
definitely.
Might be.
I think I'm gonna look it up just in case. Keep going. Keep thinking about him though.
Well, I think. Keaton Slovis is at 4, and Patty is at 3, with Yarnell at 5. I mean, Patty only had one good game though, like ever.
The first honor. They only got 4 honors.
Wait a second. Wait, we gotta consider Holstein. Could Holstein be on the list?
You can't say.
it's anyone since 2016. So that puts anyone from 2016 to now in play.
We're like forgetting Holstein, but that's crazy. I like how this AI thing, it has here are some quarterbacks, and it shows Peterman, Pickett, Max Brown, and Nate Yarnell. It's like, so I think that's the list. But I think early on.
Should we put Holstein at 5?
Yarnell's ahead of Holstein.
I don't know. It's like,
I don't think because he
It
said
might be.
Holstein's his guy now.
Holstein
He said that on his story.
think of everything that I've said.
I know, but not entirely. It's not entirely in his head though. We can't entirely be. Maybe Holstein. I think you put Holstein ahead of him. I think you put. Yeah, I guess.
Actually, I think we put.
Are we missing like one?
Let's put Patty at 5.
Quarterbacks. All right, here we go. Oh, Davis
No,
Bevel. Damn,
no.
we forgot Davis
Davis
Bevel.
Bevel. He's sad. 3, 4, and 5. It's tough, like where to put them. But do we agree? I don't know what the order is,
No,
but
we're
Slovis,
not missing any.
Slovis,
Wait.
Yarnell, and Slovis, Yarnell, Patty,
Oh,
or Holstein. There's 4 there.
we forgot Jeff George. We forgot
Jeff
George.
Top 5.
I didn't even put him in the 12. If I'm being, I like him and
How
Ricky
many
Tom
are
just
there?
because they did
Wait.
not play. Like
Okay, let me-
I didn't watch them play.
Slovis,
Wait,
Yarnell.
So that is your hint. Ricky Town and Jeff George are not on my top
Slovis,
5.
Yarnell,
That really narrows it down.
Holstein, and Patty. One of those guys has to be eliminated.
Wait, say again.
Slovis, Yarnell, Holstein,
yeah.
and Patty.
Slovis isn't. I don't think Slovis. All right, I'm gonna go through. So you said there's 12. There was 12.
I
think we
named
got
Garrett
it.
12. I named Garrett my top 12, and he agreed with me. Like he
Okay.
said, you're spot on, except I think he switched one.
1, 2,
So
3,
you're not just. It's not just from me as a Pitt fan. It's
5,
from 2 very big Pitt fans.
7, 8.
And we agreed
Nick
on it. I was
Patty
the
is
one who
not
told
top
him.
3 though because
I
he's
see
had
11.
one good game. Like, I think he has Yarnell over. I think Patty's out.
Well, I love the Patty commitment to the. I think it
would
would
go-
program as well.
I think Patty goes 5, then Holstein 4, and then Slovis 3. Or Yarnell
No.
5.
I don't think Slovis is on the list. I don't know.
So,
because he like I mean, he was still like okay, but he like under-delivered for sure.
so who do you have? Who do you think?
My 5 would be Pickett, Peterman. Holstein might be 3. Holstein.
He's played 3 games.
I know, but he's. Yeah, I know, but he's been pretty. I mean, he's been better than all of them. The
Holstein.
3 games.
I think. How about we put Holstein at 4?
Who's 3? Who do you have at 3? Patty. You put Patty at 3.
Slovis at 3.
Slovis at 3.
Slovis was bad though. Maybe we should put Holstein at 3.
I don't
Let's
know.
put
I don't know if
Holstein.
Slovis makes the list because he was the one year in. He underperformed and then he.
But he was. I mean, but
and then he
compared
left.
to what we had
And then
last year,
and
he
then
was
went with
good.
the Mormons. He went to Brigham Young, so
Eli Holstein 3. Can we agree on that?
he did say F West Virginia. Then we have that good moment for Keaton Slovis before that brawl game on.
Keaton. So then, where do we have? So then we have Pat Yarnell or Patty at 4, or do we have Slovis at 4? I feel like Slovis.
Or we go with Holstein 3.
Yeah,
Okay. Holstein 3.
I think that's a little high, but
I think
we'll go
Slovis
with it.
5.
He has to be on there.
And then do we go with?
I think Holstein at 3 is too high. I really do. But it's just who he watched at Pitt. So
Patty and Yarnell are like the same because they're both the backups for a while. Maybe they deserve to start at one point. Maybe
let's
they
go
didn't.
with
But their
Yarnell.
commitment. Okay.
What do you think, Yarnell?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean.
Okay, we're going
Jake's-
with Nate Yarnell.
Jake's-
So is that what we're locking in?
Jake's poker face.
Yep, we have Pickett, Peterman, Holstein, which I think is a bit high, Yarnell, and
It could be.
Slovis
It
at
could
5.
be.
So I am gonna pull up the text just so I'm not cheating, and I don't want you guys to think that I would do that too. But even though I don't think you would, but I just want to, I'll pull it up. It's a little bit okay. So, obviously Kenny Pickett's number 1. That
Yay.
2021
Yes.
that 2021 season was the most unbelievable Pitt football season I've
It's
ever
a great
watched,
year.
and he was just fantastic. Like it was watching a first round quarterback play. Second, Peterman. I was so high on Peterman in the draft. I thought he could be a guy that comes in to start. And maybe it was the Pitt bias.
And now he's like the meme.
I loved him out of Cole. I was like, wow, this is
These
it
Pitt
was a
QBs love to disappoint in the
They do.
NFL.
He's
And,
still in the league.
Tom
Peterman.
Savage was okay. Remember, Tom Savage was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number 3, I debated this for a bit, but I did put Holstein. Just based on the fact that he is doing stuff that even Pickett didn't do as a second-year guy. Once he became a full-time starter the first year.
The ceiling is so much higher for Holstein than Pickett.
You guys know I wanted Yarnell as a starter, but Holstein, I have just been in awe with how good of a decision maker he's been.
We got 3 out of 5.
And you guys were so close to being right. You were so close. And you had this at one point too, and I was like, this is crazy. I had Patty at 4.
Patty.
Do we have?
You wrote him down.
You loved Yarnell.
You wrote him down, Rich. I had Patty at 4, and this is why. Every time he came in, he provided offense that we needed. He was good, and he was as good as Slovis was while his ankle was just beat up at Tennessee. I'm like, and every time I've watched Patty play, he did the right thing, and he helped us put us in a position to at least win or to be good enough until a guy like Pickett came back in. I have been very impressed with Patty, and it made me disappointed that he wasn't the starter.
But because he had the one good game.
He did have the one good game, but and every time I've seen him play live, he delivered, and it's just to me. I feel like if he was given,
he didn't deliver.
To me, he did.
And then we almost lost to an FCS team the one year he played.
Yeah, but I don't think that's mainly on him, in my opinion.
Okay,
that's just that from me watching. I put Patty at 4.
Was he the starter? Didn't he come in after somebody get hurt? What was that?
That was Tennessee. Slovis got hurt.
The
and the UCF game, too.
But also, and then the Michigan State bowl game, obviously, he had us winning, and then he got hurt.
Oh, yeah. I thought Patty could have been a very productive quarterback if he played full year. We didn't get to see that, but in my opinion,
should have had Patty on the list.
And number 5, and you guys were right until you changed it, I had Yarnell. Based on the fact, I know you guys are, but watching Yarnell play, it was just relieving to watch a quarterback just play good. And I didn't see that with Slovis. I actually have Slovis at number 6.
Yeah.
And it was like, do I put him at 6? I was like,
Slovis won 8 games.
Yeah, I was like, at least
and
he made us...
Patty won the bowl game.
At least he made us competent. As much as mainly that was on a band of Canada making his life way easier, I did put Slovis at 6. Do you want me to name the rest of the list, just to name?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
So, number 7, I did have DiNucci. I was like, was he good? No, but like...
He did well at James Madison. He's still in the NFL.
Out of these quarterbacks, I think he was the best.
Beast was bad.
I actually have Davis Bevel. I was actually pretty impressed with him. Not to the point where I was like, okay, this is...
He had the tools, but...
Yeah, he had the tools. I thought...
He could not read the field. He was a statue back there.
Did you know he's still in college right now? He is at... do you guys know...
I think you told us this.
Yeah, he's at South Carolina,
he's at South Carolina.
Yeah. Is he the backup?
He's the 3rd string.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He went to Oklahoma. He was like, I'm going to prove myself.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny about this? So, I was watching the LSU South Carolina game last week, and what's their quarterback's name? He's like a freshman.
I forget.
But he got hurt at one point, and they have Robbie Ashford now, the Auburn transfer, as their backup. And at halftime, they asked Shane Beamer what's the quarterback situation like. Yeah, whatever the kid's name. It's a little injured, a little roughed up. But we feel good about Robbie and Davis. And Davis Beverly said. So that's why I was he's still in college. I just realized that. So that's kind of like a fun fact about that one. But go ahead, Jake.
So number 9, I put Max Brown. Was he good? No, but at least there is a point where he just dominated Rice. I'm like, okay, that's better.
I remember that, Rice.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's better than the other guys did. Then after Brown, number 10, I do have Christian Veillere. The Louisville game was great, but other than that, I thought he was terrible.
The one
and
game
I hate
I went
to say
to
it.
last
yeah,
his talent, though, I was always high on his talent.
But like, I don't know. At least Davis Bevel did have the better team around him. Yeah, but like at least Bevel gave us a kind of a chance to win. Veillere, he just looked
Bevel didn't do one thing though. When did he ever?
But I just, even that limited time, I was just like, I just, Veillere was just so bad. That I was like, I like Bevel better. Yeah.
It's like in baseball with WAR. Like he was just a 0 WAR player, and like the other ones were negative.
Exactly.
WAR. Exactly. So bad.
And then after Veillere, number 11, I had Joey Yellen. He was bad. Yeah, like I didn't watch him because he was playing in COVID, but I watched him on the TV. Horrible. Like I hate to say it, but he was not good.
Yeah, remember he played against the Miami game. He was bad, and then the Notre Dame game when they had the gray. Remember the gray uniform? I didn't really like those.
Yeah.
And they got destroyed by Notre Dame. He was just terrible.
And the worst quarterback I have ever seen at Pitt in my lifetime was Phil Dracovic. Horrible.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. But I was impressed. You guys got the first. I did not think you would put Holstein. I'm glad you guys did. And whenever you guys
We were
said,
so-
you guys said, I think
I
it's
didn't
Patty
think it'd be that
Ford,
high.
and you said, I think Patty Ford and you're no 5. I'm like, you better stick with that.
I
'cause
just-
that's
Did
exactly
I
right.
say that?
You
Well, I
did.
said too, like I was.
You
I-
were right
I
on
said, like,
Slovis. You
I
were
said, I don't
fully
think
right
he's
on
gonna have him
Slovis,
in the
yeah.
top 5
Yeah.
because he was such a like the expectations were there and he
Yeah.
really like
And
after
Yeah.
the
in my opinion,
ACC
I think that team
championship-
was so good that for him to not
Yeah.
be that good, I was like, dude, like Patty and Yarnell would have came in and done a lot better
Patty.
than you.
I really
swear.
I,
like,
the season it started off rough, but I liked it was just like really pleasing like the Miami game.
it
at
was,
the
yeah.
end,
That
where
I
he
was like, okay, maybe I have a
dominating. That
little
was,
bit.
like, a
I
nice-
think Miami was they were done.
we
like
should keep
that,
doing this with like every running back. Running back could be really fun.
It could.
Oh my
Like,
gosh,
why
there's
don't
so
we do
many
that?
good running back.
Why don't we do that?
Next week.
Quarterback's like the weakest.
Yeah.
One of the weaker.
I'm
positions
down
in
with
terms
that.
of
I'm 100%. Yeah, we might have to make it a weekly thing. We'll see. We'll leave it up to you guys though. But that concludes our episode. Unless you guys want to say anything else.
I think we've said enough.
All right, thank you. we have,
We've
yeah.
said
This is probably the longest
Enough
episode.
said.
But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully we'll be here next week, right? Or is that the time
We
we
don't
can't?
know.
Okay, we don't know.
But we'll see what
TBD,
happens.
We'll keep you and we'll keep
Yeah.
in touch.
Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. We are the We Are Family podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.